All right, on my way to work. So I thought I'd do a video simply because there's so many things going on to talk about. Why not talk about it? So it is now the end of May, and we are still in the midst of this pandemic. In fact, my home state I live in had its highest record number last week at the end of May. So I know that somebody projected that this would go on, or the peak would be in July or something like that. And I can see that because now the way the things are going in the world, with states opening back up early and now riots, I can see that we're going to, even if the numbers were dropping overall, they're about to spike back up. So no end in sight for that at the moment. And you know, as it creeps closer and closer to home, it gets scarier and scarier. I've now had 2 people from my work that have been tested positive. One was not in my department, but again, there's no way to know like who comes in contact with who every second of every day. If it's who I suspect it was, we're lucky because this person talked to nobody. They came in, they did their job, and they went home. And they went to the break room and they sat by themselves and went back to work. So it wasn't somebody that was flitting around the building or having to be in multiple areas every day. So that helps that it narrowed it down to a specific department pretty much completely. And the second person got it but hasn't been in the facility since March because they've been working from home. So they had to have gotten it somewhere else, which sucks. So yeah, it's the circle is getting narrower and it's getting closer to home, and we don't know specifically who got it at my work because we're not allowed to know, but like I said, if either of those people pass away, we'll all know who it was. There'll be no keeping that secret. Unless it was somebody that just nobody knew, but I don't think we're that small or that big. We're still fairly small as far as like, we pretty much know everybody or have heard everybody's name as far as production goes, not always office people. But yeah, so by now, I think it's probably safe to assume that just about everybody either has had a case in their workplace or a case tested positive in some social group that they're in, or whatever the case is. Somebody knows somebody by now. And that's pretty crazy if you think about it. I'm still reeling over the fact that this is a worldwide pandemic. I mean, that's what pandemic is, but the fact that this isn't just affecting, you know, my town or my state or my country, it's affecting everybody around the world, which is pretty insane. And all the craziness that goes on, that has been going on with that, you know, is it real? Is it fake? Is it hyped up? Are the numbers hyped up? I heard a story at work the other day that a coworker told me about, I forget how he got the information, but it was like his wife's friend's father-in-law or something passed away from terminal cancer. He'd had terminal cancer for quite a while, and they all knew that when he passed away, it was from the cancer. Yet when the death certificate came back, I said COVID. And somewhere the information came out that, and this may be true or not true, but that the hospital is getting like $1,800 or $18,000, or I don't know, something along those lines, for every case of COVID that their hospital, has or passes away from. So, that's a big incentive for an already corrupt system to be listing things, falsifying records. If we weren't during this pandemic, I'm sure that an autopsy would reveal that he did not have COVID-19. But they aren't testing the dead, because what's the point of testing the dead? The lack of tests that have been available, they made it sound like there was going to be tests galore, and in reality, a very small percentage of people have been getting tested, or being allowed to be tested, and that's scary too. And I was one of the first people at my work wearing a mask, and I continue to wear a mask. Thankfully, I have several, and so I can rotate out pretty frequently. Well, every day I rotate. And I wear it, I'd say 80% of my day at work. And yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. And I stand by my original reasoning that if I have it and don't know it, I'm wearing a mask so that I don't accidentally pass it on to 20 people. Because I want to go to sleep at night knowing that I did what I needed to protect other people. If I get it, I get it. There's nothing I can do about that. But in the meantime, if I get it, I would like to have some peace of mind that I didn't go around willy-nilly spreading it to 20 more people, who then spread it to 20 more people. I have enough trouble sleeping. I don't need that on my conscience. So yeah, I continue to wear a mask, and I just got gloves. Not gloves. I just got gas. I wear gloves when I get gas. I don't wear gloves at work, but I wash my hands frequently, and I sanitize in between frequently, and I try not to touch things, and all that good stuff. So it is what it is, and it's not going away anytime soon, so just got to adapt and overcome. That's all we can do. And so now we have the topic of riots. I might say some things that are controversial, and I'm not looking for support. I'm not looking for negativity. I don't need your opinion. Well, I don't need your opinion, but you're welcome to share your opinion. Just don't bash me. But, now we have rioting going on. Literally, an hour or less than from where I live, where I sleep at night, and 40 minutes from my work. And I am not going to give an opinion of whether I feel like they are justified or not justified necessarily. It's not that black and white, no pun intended. But I understand why it's happening, and I understand the level of anger that's causing it to happen, and I understand that as a nation as a whole, we're already, we've been fighting this race war for years already. Years and years and years. And it's been a problem for years. And police brutality has been a problem for years. I'm not going to throw every cop in the same basket. There are plenty of good cops. But there is a huge, if we were to look into every cop in the nation over the last 50 years, the amount of police brutality and unnecessary force would probably make me throw up. It's a problem. And because they don't get the same amount of justice, or the same kind of justice that you or I would, it continues to be a problem. I'm not saying that they don't ever need to use excessive force. I'm not saying that they don't ever need to be brutal. because there are small percentages of the time where they might need to. But it's being done in instances where it's not called for. And that's a problem. And I don't care if the perpetrator is black, white, Asian, Filipino. I don't give a shit. And I don't care if the suspect or the person that they are brutalizing is any of those colors either. It's just gotta stop. Human lives are human lives, and they are not above the law because they are the law. They are not above reproach because they are the law. They're human beings just like us. In every way. They have families to go home to. They have families that worry about them every single night. They have children that would grow up without them if they get killed, just like us. And that doesn't make their lives any more precious than ours. The difference is they put their lives on the line every single day by having to be in situations where they could, they have a higher potentiality of being killed. And that causes mental stress. So I don't know what the answer is. If it's like a beat cop, should there be a limit on the years that they are on the beat, and then they have to move to a detective or desk position just because of the mental strain? I don't know what the answers are, but I get it. And now there's riots starting up in other cities, and one part of me says that, rioting is it's not productive, and damaging innocent buildings and people's, whatever buildings they're burning right now, whoever's employed there that may or may not be innocent just lost their jobs, which sucks. And that's not the overall intention. It's past that at this point. But go burn down the corrupt politicians' houses. Go burn down the bank owners' houses. Go burn down those houses. Not people in the neighborhood that are trying to work at AutoZone to make a paycheck. And whether or not AutoZone supports the police department has nothing to do with the fact that Jim goes to work every day to squeak out a paycheck to cover his rent, to cover his gas to get to work, to cover his groceries to feed his kids. They're two separate things. Because at the end of the day, if I was having to work for a company that I didn't agree with everything they do, but I need to make a paycheck and that's the only place available, then that's where I'm going to work. We can't always afford to be picky and choosy on where we work. We have to make a paycheck. We have mortgages due. We have bills that are due. So one part of me says I wish it wasn't happening for that reason. And if we could riot in a way that doesn't affect innocent people negatively, then fucking burn it to the fucking ground. But that's not the case. So how can we focus, if we're going to riot, how can we focus it in a way that's going to hurt the people that are hurting us, not the people that are innocent? Because if we're all going to start rioting across the nation, fuck yeah. Let's riot everything right now. Let's riot the police department brutality. Let's riot the political corruption. Let's riot the hospital corruption of our health system, where we get charged $50 for a motherfucking Band-Aid. Let's riot all of it. Let's get it all done and out of the way, and let's just have a full country of rioting craziness. Burn it to the fucking ground. Because it's gotta stop. The consumerism, the corruption, all of it. And in the meantime, let's riot gangs. Because you're talking about a low mentality that doesn't give a fuck about anything but their reputation and who did what to who and what colors we're wearing. I mean, if we're gonna riot things, let's riot stupidity. Let's riot gangs. Let's get rid of them. I mean, really, people, where does it stop? Where does the corruption stop? Where does the stupidity stop? Where does the small-minded, low mentality stop? There are no good answers. There aren't. And in the meantime, during this pandemic and during now the riots, my life is not altered in any way. I go to work, I come home, I go to bed. I go to work, I come home, I go to bed. It's crazy. It's like some kind of weird parallel universe to the outside world. It's bizarre. So, I don't know. I don't know where I stand with the rioting, honestly. And maybe I'm bad for not having, being on the fence. I don't know that I would even call it on the fence. I have opinions both ways. I always have opinions both ways because I'm a Gemini. And Geminis see both sides to everything. I'm also an empath, so empaths see both sides to everything. And I'm a female. So I have that female nature to me as well. But I'm also a mother. And I have, obligations to my children to stay safe and sane. And while I'm talking about my children, my poor daughter, this is her graduating year. So many kids were graduating this year. And she really has been through the ringer in the last 6 months. So it started with floods in their hometown, and they had to evacuate, sort of. They had to evacuate her great-grandma. And the flooding was around the whole region, so school shut down for a minute while that was going on. Then right after that, the pandemic started. Everything got canceled. And then her grandfather suddenly passed away. God, was it a week ago already? Or 2 weeks ago? Time is weird lately, so it might have been 2 weeks ago already. I think it was. He suddenly passed away. And then her great-uncle, her great-grandma's brother, passed away just last week. And now there's rioting. And she graduates today. And her whole senior year has just been insanity. And I'm sad for her. It sucks. I'm sad for all the graduates that are, yes, people are focusing on them, but at the same time, there's a lot that are getting lost in the shuffle of everything else. It sucks. Every year kids get to graduate under normal circumstances, and they get to celebrate under normal circumstances and in the usual celebrating ways that, has been done for however many years, and that doesn't happen this year, Everything's wonky. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, shout out to all the seniors. You did it. It's done. It's over. On to the rest of your life. And welcome to adulthood. Alright, I'm going to end the video because I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about. And everybody, please stay safe. Wear a mask. Don't go to bed at night wondering, that if you infected multiple people, if you get infected. Don't worry about that. Just wear a mask. It's not that hard. It has nothing to do with protecting yourself. But we as human beings should be loving each other enough to try to protect each other. Strangers or no strangers. Everybody has a mother, a grandmother, a grandbaby, a child, a sibling. Let's protect each other by wearing the masks, not ourselves. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all later.